Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Well folks, it's been a while since we've done some polling analysis, and 2022 is getting closer and closer by the day, I mean literally. And a lot's been going on in the news and the news cycle the last couple of weeks, so we haven't really done polling analysis for a while. At least not a strictly focused polling analysis video. And so what do you think that means, folks? Well, it means two things. It means that we have a whole lot to talk about, and I mean a whole lot of polls and a whole lot of data to analyze. And what it also means is that we get to continue to be excited about what seems to be the inevitable collapse of the Democrat establishment as things just continue to get worse. My leftoid friends, the few of you who watch my videos, I hate to break it to you, but it's really just not looking good. No matter how much hopium and no matter how much copium you might be inhaling, no matter how many times you tell yourself, oh, we're gonna turn this whole thing around, just you wait, the ebbs and flows of approval rating, no matter how many times you try to convince yourself, it's just not happening. It's a steady decline, folks, and we are getting little nuggets of information and data that's suggesting it may be a whole lot worse than Democrats could ever imagine. Let me show you guys why I think personally 2022 is not going to be close, and not even close to close. It's going to be a total and utter embarrassing disaster for the Democrats, the likes of which hasn't been seen for decades. Folks, the Democrats are about to get smoked. I mean, there's some generic congressional data that's suggesting it's going to be a little bit close, but if you look at all of the voting indicators, I think we're going to see basically what we always see. Republicans are going to overperform in respect to polling data, and they're already leading polling data, meaning Republicans are going to sweep this thing in all the states that matter. Let me show you guys what I mean, but of course, before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. And with that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so when I tell you that we've got a lot to go through, just take a look at my internet tabs here. We've got a lot of different stuff to cover, so let's try to just rapid fire cannon through this stuff. The first headline article for this video: Democrats' own polling reveals stunning margin for Republicans in midterm elections. Political peril. It's not just Rasmussen. Once again, these coping Twitter Democrats want to have you believe that right-wing polls are overestimating the Republican lead, but now even internal DCCC polling metrics are showing a grim reality for the Democrats, and this type of lead for Republicans on early congressional ballot data is the biggest Republican lead we have seen in decades, literally. Internal polling data commissioned by the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee depicts a more dire situation for Democrats in the 2022 midterms than previously thought. What are the details? Internal DCCC polling shows that Democrats in battleground districts are trailing Republicans by 8 points on the generic ballot, from 47% Republican to 39% for Democrats. According to Punchbowl News, which first reported on the data, the polling exposes a, quote, stunning margin by electoral standards that suggests Democrats are in worse political peril than they've let on publicly, especially considering that Democrats often have a slight built-in advantage on the generic ballot that suggests a red tsunami is coming this November. Because of the dismal polling, the DCCC has reportedly instructed the Democratic caucus to coalesce around attacking House Republicans as, quote, MAGA Republicans. Wait a second, I thought the whole MAGA and Ultra MAGA thing was Joe Biden's idea. This tactic, they believe, will tie all GOP members to former President Donald Trump, theoretically helping them at the ballot box. In a statement, DCCC spokesman Chris Taylor not only cited the, quote, MAGA rhetoric, but claimed without evidence that Republicans embrace a white supremacist conspiracy theory. And so as you guys can see, the Democrats are getting real desperate. They don't have any messaging. They don't have anything. You know, Joe Biden's always talking about how Republicans don't represent anything. But when it comes to Democrats and their think tank, their study group that spent 6 months trying to come together with party rhetoric for the Democrats to push, the only thing they could come up with is ultra MAGA and MAGA Republican instead of actual coherent political talking points. You know, the Democrats are desperate when they resort to their slanderous tactics. In other words, the Democrats are always desperate. But let me show you guys just how bad it is. First of all, Joe Biden's approval rating is still in the gutter. The most recent civics data has Joe Biden at 34% approval, and with independents particularly, which is the most important voter bloc, he has a dismal 22% approval rating. Folks, that ballot data that we looked at earlier, 47% Republican to 39% Democrat, there's a whole lot of undecided votes there. There's a whole lot of middle ground people who haven't made up their minds yet. Joe Biden's approval rating with independents is 22%. Meaning, how do you think the undecided votes are going to split? This is exactly what I mean by the current data is most likely underestimating the Republican lead right now. I believe in all of the most important battleground states and all the middle ground states, the more moderate Democrat and swing states, we are going to see independents shift towards the GOP at an incredibly surprising rate. This means that Republicans can absolutely decimate the Democrats, unlike we've ever seen. And we can make that prediction just based off Joe Biden's approval rating alone. I mean, I keep using this word dismal, but that might be too positive. I mean, it's catastrophic. It's not just civics. We have an AP NORC poll showing Joe Biden's approval rating at 39%, which is slightly better. But if you look right over here when it comes to country direction, 21% of people surveyed in this poll believe the country is headed in the right direction, with 78% believing the country is headed on the wrong track. That is plus 8% from April. And I believe that's the highest number, or one of the highest numbers I've ever seen. 78%. Nearly 80% of people surveyed believe the country is headed in the wrong direction under Joe Biden. That spells doom. And if we go to a more favorable left-wing poll, NPR/Marist, Joe Biden's approval rating sitting at 39%, sub 40, independents at 33. Still absolutely terrible. This guy is shedding support like we've never seen before. The video is already long and I still have so much to show you guys, so let's try to really go through this stuff fast. Take a look at this drop in Joe Biden's approval rating with Hispanics. Now, interactive poll says a net decline of minus 60%. I don't exactly understand what's going on there. I'm not sure where he got that number. I don't think he means that it's dropped by 60 points, but maybe just the percentage or just the approval is dropped by 60%, not 60 percentage points. But regardless of the math, we're supposed to be going fast here. Take a look at this. April 2021, Hispanic support for Joe Biden at 55%, 29% disapproval. Fast forward to May 2022, 26% approval and 60% disapproval. More than a double in disapproval index alone. I mean, that number is staggering and we see it everywhere. Just take a look at his generic approval. Biden net approval decline over the last year based on AP NORC. Biden approval trends. May 2021, 63% approved. May 2022, 39% approved. And this poll was conducted with a +8 Democrat sample. That's incredibly significant. But that doesn't tell the whole story. Now here is what I believe is going to be the final nail in the coffin for Democrat hopes headed into the midterms. Early voting data and turnout data, otherwise known as voter enthusiasm. We have seen metrics that have shown a plus 20-point gap, a 20-point Republican lead in voter enthusiasm, meaning for every 4 Democrats that are enthused to go to the polls and vote, there's 5 Republicans. And it's playing out, folks. Georgia primaries. Republicans lead Democrats by 107,000 in early voting. Republican turnout is surging in Georgia's primary. Nearly 82,000 more Republicans showed up to the polls than Democrats. In North Carolina, Republican turnout increased by 109% compared to 2018. Republican turnout in North Carolina primaries. 2022, 853,000 people showed up to the polls. In 2018, only 408. GOP turnout is 109% higher than it was in 2018. Democrat turnout, 37% higher than 2018. The net difference is 72% for Republicans. Let's go to Pennsylvania. Republican turnout is outpacing 2018 by 543,000 votes. Republican turnout in PA primaries, 2018 we saw 857,000 votes, or Republicans headed to the polls. In 2022, 1.4 million. GOP turnout is up 63% higher than 2018, with Republican turnout surpassing Democrat turnout for the first time in 10 years. Folks, when I tell you historic, when I tell you stuff that hasn't been seen in decades, it's not hyperbole, it's not an exaggeration. Democrats might be doing okay. Democrats might be within a few percentage points in some of the polls that we're seeing, but a lot of these polls are with likely voters or registered voters. Not all likely and registered voters are going to the polls. That polling data are all oversampled with Democrats, and of course considering electoral maps and the fact that Democrats control the large population centers, when it comes to actual vote distribution, if Republicans are ahead by even 2 or 3 percentage points, it means a complete blowout. If we're looking at polling data showing Republicans up 7%, 8%, all the way up to 13%, and then we factor in the fact that Republicans are more enthused to actually go to the polls, I'm telling you there is a distinct possibility of Democrats losing 40, 50, 60, maybe even 80 plus seats if this trend continues. And things continue to get bad, Joe Biden's taking a favorability drop, hitting a new low in May as Americans lose patience with rising costs and inflation. And we're now even seeing with Nate Silver's 538 polling aggregate, the most left-wing bias polling pool, Joe Biden has officially dropped lower than Donald Trump in approval rating at the same time during both presidencies. Take a look at this. Donald Trump is more popular, even by 538 standards. And it gets even worse for Joe. In fact, Joe is now the least popular president net approval at this point in office of any president going back to Truman in 1945, according to 538 combined poll tracker. And according to Rasmussen's very accurate data, Donald Trump is 10 percentage points ahead of Joe Biden at the same time in terms of his approval. Donald Trump is also at an all-time high in his odds to win the 2024 presidential election. Trump's presidential odd trends, January 2021 at 3.57%, today is now 26.32%. We are seeing the total collapse of Joe Biden and the total collapse of the Democrat Party as a result. Oh, and there's so much to cover in this video, I almost forgot this one. Interactive Polls tweeted this out a couple days ago, that Joe Biden has the lowest approval rating of any president since Jimmy Carter at this time in office. Well, that was a couple weeks ago. Joe Biden officially tanked below Jimmy Carter. It's no longer a meme, folks. Joe Biden is now less popular, more of a disaster, a worse president than Jimmy Carter. We are talking about absolute electoral disaster, folks. I keep ripping it off from Chuck Todd, but of course, Chuck Todd said it first. The Democrats are headed towards a total shellacking. And I'm telling you, it's going to be worse than the polling data suggests. Enthusiasm and early voting metrics are painting a very, very grim reality for Democrats and an absolute red tsunami that is going to sweep the nation. Of course, at least that's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.